So help me understand this here, and maybe I'm the only one. But did anybody know that they were only doing, I guess, a 12 episode finale for Fear the Walking Dead? I mean, we just saw the finale, the season finale, or mid season finale. I had no idea that was even it, which I guess, as I was watching, I was like, wow, I really feel like they're trying to, close up some storylines here, or just trying to, really pull things together here. I was just like, what is happening right now? That was a shocker. I didn't quite get that. Welcome back, everybody, to the Z-Man Show. I'm Mike here, talking Fear the Walking Dead, Season 8, Episode 6, the mid-season finale. And it's called All I See Is Red. Now, listen, part of me is happy that this mid-season is done, right? I really want to be done with Fear the Walking Dead. I'm finishing out because I've invested 7 full seasons. I don't even know if that equates to actually 7 years or not, but that's a long time, right? I feel like I need to see the closure. I need to understand where the characters go and what happens. But it's been a painful process getting there. I think it was a terrible choice, honestly, to introduce more kids into this show. It seems like every time they do that, remember back there when they're trying to fix up the plane or whatever, and they meant that little Goonie squad. It was like, I think it was around I want to say season 5 into season 6, somewhere around there. But it's irrelevant. The point was, though, it was bad. It was awful. Probably one of the worst seasons to date. Just, having people just do the impossible and at least they kind of stopped doing that. But now we've just met some other characters that we just really don't care about. And furthermore, just did some really goofy ass things. I mean, what about Shrike in the finale? So her dad comes out of the swamp. They're after those coordinates. These are the coordinates, I guess, where they're going to start moving these containers and start the whole new process of building the new world and stuff like that. I guess admirable, and sure, maybe it's possible. But he comes out of the swamp, I guess, after that houseboat goes down, and she just loses her stuff. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible. Sure, it can happen, but she went all this way and everything she's fought for, and then just to let her dad, start gnawing on her neck or whatever. And it was just some things that went on in this finale. The whole thing, I'm seeing red, Morgan losing the time a lot, which it was cool, I guess, kind of at first, maybe a little bit, because I was like, oh man, he's going into these, crazy states of just rage and just murdering stuff. But then he was turning on Madison too, and even Mo at one point. I mean, Mo couldn't even trust him. She had to tie him up, and the moments in the houseboat while it was flooding, and the walkers were at the windows, but yet at one point the walkers just kind of stopped, advancing. They're just like, oh, I'm suddenly just stuck, and I can't go any further because reasons, story, right? I mean, we need to hear Morgan talk more and work it out with Mo. It was all over the place, everyone. I know I'm being super negative on this show. Give me the dislike if I'm being too hardcore. That's fine. I'll take it. But I'm telling you, this is not the show. I just reviewed a Dead City. That's good. Decent storytelling. It feels like The Walking Dead. It feels like the world that we've come to know over more than a decade. Okay, that's a long time. And I just don't understand what these showrunners were trying to achieve with Fear. I think in a lot of ways, I think they already had The Walking Dead going on, and they had to fill that with really solid material, at least as much as they could. And they're like, well, what else are we going to do with these guys? And they're like, well, we'll just send them off on some side adventures or whatever. Like, it just didn't turn out. And plus, after they killed off the main characters, which that brought us into the story, right? We were like, oh, I'm kind of on board with these. But then they killed them off, and they give us all these side characters. I know, I'm not going to go over it again. We've talked about this to death many, many times. So, were there some highlights in tonight's episode? Not really. I mean, it just kind of ended up, it was so quick, too. The whole thing with Morgan going from, like, I'm seeing the red, whatever, and you can't trust me, whatever, to by the end of the episode, Padre's pretty much been taken down. Mo's like, oh, you do love me. You're willing to let me go. And it's like, this is kind of like the Scooby-Doo happy ending kind of thing. I just wasn't buying it. I'm glad that they didn't end up having the radiation as a cure to the infections or whatever. That was really sad. I'm not like tear sad, but that Finch actually died for Dwight and Sherry. And I thought that was interesting. I think that's some of the best interactions I've seen with Dwight and Sherry in a long time. I think they're almost better when they're at their worst, to be honest. But their boy died, right? There's no more that June could do for him. And he died, so they bury him. And I don't even know what that could possibly be like, but Dwight, and instead of it being Sherry, which it's always Sherry, but Dwight was like, we can't be together. It seems like every time we come back together, the worst happens. And I'm just like, oh man, I mean, obviously that's the darkest way of looking at it, but I guess he's right in some ways. But then, he said he was going to go off and start anew and, do his thing, go back home. And I'm like, do you really want to go do that alone, though? But Sherry, she kind of agreed, I guess, and they hugged and so forth. So that I thought was a decent scene. I thought that was decent. But I still feel like, I don't know. You feel like there's still some closure not there. Like, oh, the Dwight and Sherry show down the line or something. Like, they're going to bring him back. And that's the only reason I can figure, and I was talking to my wife, like, why would you keep all these other characters around unless you were hoping for little sideshows down the way? But what, for characters we don't even really care about anymore? I know they showed some flashes of all the people that Morgan had lost throughout time, and I noticed they flashed Alicia's face. Now listen, I know that she had the radiation going, and I think she'd been bitten at one point or whatever, and it sounded like she was going to die, but she didn't. I don't know. Didn't you have that feeling like she wasn't really dead though, or that that she's off somewhere, probably surviving, or she didn't probably kill off. She just didn't seem like she was that easy to get rid of. And also they're bringing back Madison, right? So that was kind of isn't that the whole point, to bring someone like Madison back so that maybe Alicia and her could at least reunite? The fact that now that she lost both her kids, Nick and Alicia, and never got to see him at any other point. Man. The story, and I get it too, because Alicia Dunham Carey, I think is her name. I think she was probably going off to do another show, so she's probably like, I'm good, Fear. You guys are gonna have to finish this off, however so, and maybe that's another reason why they decided to wrap it up. But they're just done. They're done with stories. It's just like they get worse and worse. And where's Luciana? I guess we found Daniel. He's kind of doing his thing, but them going back and forth with his memory and not. Do you see where I'm going? It's just the storylines were all over the place, and it's almost to the point where it's just more annoying and almost more of a chore to watch the show versus I'm really ready to tune in and see where my survivors are going to go next. I already feel that immediately with Negan and Maggie. Yeah, sure, it's not a perfect setup, and yeah, there's a few little plot holes perhaps here and there, just trying to work themselves out. But they're early in the season. I expect them to work a lot of that out, and I think they will. So good for them. And I can't wait for the Rick and Michonne show that could be coming, I think, in 2024 as well. And then we have Daryl's, where he's over, I think, in Europe. So that's going to be insane, too. So I wish I could tell you more good things about Fear, but I think looking back on all this, I'm just going to kind of say it was just that random zombie show. Just random stories, a bunch of random characters. I mean, you think about all the adventures they had with Althea and some of the other characters and whatever, and trying to save others on the road and leaving supplies. And then there was that crazy psycho lady who was hunting Morgan. And just think about all these different things that happened. And yeah, some of it was cool. And I don't look back saying, I wish I would have never watched this show. But I also kind of think to myself, man, just wasted potential in a lot of areas. Not all of it, but just a lot of areas. So all right, everybody, that's pretty much my rant for Fear the Walking Dead mid-season finale. I mean, we still have a whole another, I guess, 6 episodes left, so what is going to happen here? I mean, I guess they're going to try and get Padre on its feet or whatever, and maybe that's where they'll end it off, where they've started a new community. They have supplies and whatever, they're going to survive, but are they going to kill anybody off? I will mention one other thing, though. One other highlight was killing off Grace. That was actually worthy, and I was just like, okay, finally. Killing off characters that we either at least a little bit, care about, and also the way they did it and so forth. I thought was pretty cool. But the kids, Mo, and some of the other ones, I can't help but roll my eyes when they're making their comments and their little idealistic ways and this and that. I'm like, you're in the apocalypse, yo. I mean, that idealism shit, I don't think it's gonna fly. But again, teach their own, and each character, you gotta figure it out. So I'm Mike with the ZMM Show. Hope you enjoyed this depressing rant for Fear of the Walking Dead. But if you enjoy more happy reviews, check out my Dead City one. It's off to a great start, and I think we got a lot of potential there. So other than that, I guess we'll see when FTWD comes back, and I'll do my best to finish it out with you all. Take care, and I'll see you at the next review. See you guys.